Here comes the money. You're now listening to the Gambling with Gold podcast with Jason Gold. Presented by Champions Round.
Welcome to episode 68 of Gambling with Gold. My name is Jason Gold, and as always, I am joined by my buddy from the Action Network, Dan Titus. Dan, a big old gambling slate to talk about today. We got the Final Four, what I'm calling the Coach K funeral party on Bourbon Street, if we get our wish. Then we have all sorts of NBA games, and then we're going to finally start talking about some NFL draft props, which is my favorite, one of my favorite things to gamble on all year. I know that's how we started doing the podcast last year, was doing NFL draft props. Bringing it back full circle 1 year into this thing. How you doing on this Thursday?
Doing great, man. As you said, we got a bunch of stuff lined up. I mean, between the college Final Four and we got NBA going on, like the season's winding down, about to be playoff mode, and then the NFL draft is going to be here before we know it. So, yeah, man, it's an exciting time to be a bettor always.
And then next week we get the Masters. I can't wait for that. The little golf action. Favorite tournament of the year. So that's going to be many, many units wagered and lost on the Masters, but I can't wait for it. All right. Why don't we start with this? Final Four, Saturday, April 2nd, 3:09 p.m. Pacific. First game on the board, Villanova plus 4.5 against Kansas. Total set at 132.5 right now. Nova coming in at 165 on the money line. Kansas minus 200. These lines, total opened 131, so it's up a bit to 132.5. The number on the Nova Kansas game, so Justin Moore, their guard, probably their second or third best player on the team, tears his Achilles in the Elite Eight game. He will not obviously not be participating. So this line, with him in the game, I've heard from some sharps, 1 to 1.5 on Kansas. So you got to figure that Moore is worth 1.5. So you're at 3. And I think that people outside of the market, general gamblers who don't know about college basketball, said, okay, we're at 3. There's a big guy injured. We're going to jack it up even more. So now you're sitting at 4.5. I think Villanova, I mean, I'll let you get to it, but like, do you think that they're going to muck up the game? And maybe we're looking at an under and a Villanova plus 4.5 here. I don't see any world in which Kansas is going to get out and just do what they did to Miami in the second half there.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm going with it. You know, I'm betting the first half under at 61.5. 3 out of the 4 Nova games have gone under. And since the Sweet 16, unders are 11-1. So in the first half, that is. In wake of Justin Moore's injury, like this guy was getting, he averaged the most minutes on the floor for the Nova Wildcats, and he's their second leading scorer at almost 15 a game. So what does Jay Wright do? He already has a tight rotation. According to KenPom, Villanova ranks 300 in percentage of minutes allotted to the bench. So they have a really small unit. I think we're going to see more Eric Dixon in this matchup. The only way that Villanova is going to be able to stay in this game is to stop Kansas's pace. And the way you do that is to play defense. And I think that they're going to do that. That's what Villanova does well. That's why Jay Wright, we talked about before we got on the show, it's not about really the players. It's about the strategy. And for me, Jay Wright in this spot, like he's proven it time in and time out, like he can match up and strategize against opponents. So I think they're going to slow the tempo down. Kansas will eventually figure it out. Because as we saw against Miami, like they went on they won the second half 47-12. Like
insane.
They can get buckets when they get hot. But I think starting out, starting to get yourself together on a neutral court, feeling each other out, strategizing, I think it's going to be a little slow paced game, which is exactly what Villanova wants. So I'm going to take Kansas 2.5 in the first half also, because I still think that they'll maintain the lead. I think it's going to be a slower paced game. So under 61.5 as well.
So I love that first half under. It's kind of where I was going to go too. I was going to split it between first half and game, maybe even full unit bets on each. I just think that, first of all, I'll take Jay Wright over Bill Self any day of the week. I don't care.
Same.
Jay Wright is absolutely one of the best coaches in the entire world. He will have a strategy to only utilize his 7 guys and to go full max defense. Also, there's something to be said in these games, Final Four. It's like, we still have another game on Monday, right? Are we going to go full max effort in the first half? No. These guys are just trying to save a little bit in the tank for Monday. I think it leads in both these games, perhaps, that first half under. Although Duke, North Carolina, which we'll get to in a second, those guys, that's their national championship game. So maybe they do go full out. Villanova, Kansas, I think they're going to settle into the game nice and slow. You're playing in a big environment. We know that the shooting percentages generally go down when you get to these big NFL stadiums that they're playing in. They're playing at the Caesar Superdome. So yeah, give me that 61.5 first half for sure. 132.5. I kind of like that even more just because it's been bet up already from 131 to 132.5. I feel like I'm getting a little value against the market. Maybe I wait until the last second here, hoping that the public wants to bet overs in this game. But I do like that Villanova plus 4.5. These guys, they're so feisty. They're playing this really short roster, 7 guys. Kansas, Abaji's been terrible in this tournament. So they've played 4 games, and they probably only played one good half of basketball the entire time, which was the second half versus Miami, who was also a 10 seed. Like, Kansas has rolled through nobody. Let's remember. So
they had the easiest path. They had the easiest path. Yeah.
And that was pre-tournament. Then they got an easier path in the tournament. You got to play Providence, who we know is the biggest joke of all time. Then you got to play Miami, who's a 10 seed, who had to walk through Iowa State to get to the Elite Eight. And their first 2 games, it was nothing. So, yeah, they played one good half of basketball. This is Villanova. Villanova's won 2 championships in the last 5 years, 6 years. This is a good-ass team, even without Justin Moore. So, I'm going to bet Villanova plus 4.5, under first half, 61.5, and under 132.5 for the game.
Yeah, I feel like the lack of depth in the second half is going to hurt Villanova, because the thing about Kansas that's good is that, I mean, they got bucket getters off the bench. Remy Martin, he's had a couple of good games, and then also not so good of games. But then they also have a pretty good front court too in McCormick, as well as Wilson. So like I think that they're just going to be too much in the end. But I'm not mad at picking Villanova if you think this is going to be a tight game, if they can slow down to the pace to the way that they want to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that, and I just think it's like, you give me a timeout with 4 minutes left, and the game's, if Villanova's down by 3,
yeah,
I'm trusting Jay Wright to make that close. Like 4.5 seems like too much. If this was 2.5, yeah, I'd probably take Kansas. I think there's a good chance this game ends at 3 or 4 for Kansas here.
Could see that.
All right, let's get to the. I mean, the fact that we get this game in the Final Four, Coach K's last year, is you don't believe in God, and we don't have to talk about religion, but like there's some sort of stars that are aligned for this shit. There's someone putting this together, book in the sky. It's just like, yep, that's what you're gonna get for your last game, Coach K. You're gonna get North Carolina, 2 teams that have never faced each other in the tournament. Coach K's been there. Coach K's been there since before my mom and dad even fucking met each other. He's been there forever. And they haven't met in the tournament? Now you get it in his last game potentially ever in the Final Four? I mean, can't script it any better.
Absolutely not. Cannot. And, both of these teams blew each other out in the 2 matchups that they played. Both games went over by a pretty considerable margin. And I'm just, this is the game I've been waiting for so long. Like, I wish we had some of the NBA caliber talent that we've had in years past with these rosters, but nonetheless, like the story of UNC and the road that they've gotten here as the 8th seed, I slept on them. I didn't think that they were that good coming out of the ACC tournament, but this team is locked in at the right time. Armando Bacot is becoming one of the best interior bigs in college basketball right now. I mean, granted it was against St. Peter's, but to have 20 and 20, like, a lot of people don't do that. That's harder than you think. So just between that and RJ Davis, like, I love the way he's been playing point guard. And we saw, like, I guess if I'm looking at it, if I'm thinking about strategy wise, what worked for UNC? Because I'm on personally, and I know you are as well. This is team fuck Duke here. I'm a Hokie.
Yep.
Got to. But like, what really worked was that they just blitzed everybody else except Banchero. So if you do that and just let him win, he'll win his 1-to-1 matchups. Let him get buckets. If you take out everybody else, the AJ Griffins, and what I'm saying, like, I think that was the recipe to win. And I would imagine they would try to do that again, but I don't know. Coach K is a pretty good coach, so I don't know. I'm curious to see what Duke does to combat the strategy that was used last time to really just outwit them and just beat them on their home floor in Cameron Indoor the last time Coach K was going to be there. Oh man, that energy would be so great if they just kicked them out of the Final Four as well. I'm all in the UNC, man. +4, let's go.
Yeah, so North Carolina, BetMGM +4.5, -115 to that side. Total 151.5. It opened at 150. North Carolina +155 on the money line. Duke at -190. Look, Duke has the most talent of any team left in the tournament. certainly NBA wise, but I think
Definitely.
now, I mean, the guys that they can just break out is insane. They've
They're
played,
young though.
yep, true. They've played a couple of really nice games in a row. The win versus Texas Tech, I think people sleep on how difficult that was. There are
Great
a bunch
defense.
of 19-year-olds going against a bunch of 22-year-olds. And that defense, that was a really, really impressive win. The win in the Elite Eight, I mean, they're just awesome. And if Banchero gets going, you're right, UNC might let it happen, but I feel like if he's starting to stir the pot, watch out. I feel like everyone else kind of feeds off what he's got going on. It'll be an interesting game. So UNC, obviously, plus 11.5 last time they met at Cameron Indoor. Line probably should have been like 9.5, but it was juiced up because it was Coach K's last game, whatever. But now you're looking at 4.5 on a neutral. It's a pretty sizable difference, and probably North Carolina has earned it. They underperformed during the season, but they certainly have the guys capable of being really successful. Talent-wise, they're probably just a hair below Kansas and Duke in terms of the Final Four, but they probably have more overall talent than Villanova does. Actually, I would say definitely have more overall talent than Villanova does. But they're hot. They've won 16 of their last 19 games. That has been since Manic entered the starting lineup. 18 of those 19 games have just been decided by 10 points or more, so 2 blowout losses, but 16 wins would have just been absolute domination. I think their only win that wasn't by double digits was the UCLA win in the Sweet 16. And that UCLA team you saw last year, the UCLA team is sick. And the fact that they were – remember when we were talking last week, I said there's no chance that North Carolina can win a rock fight versus Mick Cronin. They won a rock fight versus Mick Cronin. They absolutely did. I mean, the pace was probably a little bit higher than Cronin would have wanted, but at the end, that was a slugfest. And
it was.
UNC absolutely rose to the occasion and did what they had to do. I'm really interested to see what happens in this game. Obviously, I'm rooting for North Carolina. This is one of those throw out whatever my handicap is. I'm going to back North Carolina. I think that Duke's probably going to end up winning this game. I think that the final is going to be Kansas Duke. I think Coach K is going to get his revenge. I think there's more overall talent here, but God, am I hoping that North Carolina gets this done. If I get to see videos of North Carolina people, grave stomping down Bourbon Street after the game on Saturday night, I'm going to be a happy man.
Me too, man. Me too. Nothing brings me more joy than a Duke loss. So I'm all for it. So have you bet the exact outcomes? Because I scooped up Kansas to win it all at plus 180, and I picked Kansas to face UNC at plus 450 in the championship game. So and I think I've seen some Duke out there for like what, plus 300, plus 350, something like that.
I have not bet any futures on any of this mostly because I want to root for North Carolina, but I actually don't believe that they're going to win. So what I should do is bet Duke and Kansas, and then I think that I don't know who will win that game. I'll take the under in that game though. So. Long story short, no. I'm just going to bet on Nova and North Carolina and definitely the under in Kansas and see where we're at. But I'll be rooting for North Carolina hard.
Just going for the dogs. I like it.
Got to do it. All right. I guess we're through that.
I got a couple of player props I want to throw out there.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
So the first one, so we talked about Justin Moore and his injury. The one person that came in and really did a great job when the one game that Justin Moore missed this season was Eric Dixon. He's a redshirt sophomore, and he's been getting a lot of love from Jay Wright in the pressers, as well as what he did against UConn, the game that Justin Moore missed. He scored 24 points on 15 shots, also had 12 rebounds. Right now, his point prop is sitting at 8.5. I think that's too low, and you can get it at plus money. So I'm going to take the over on that, just given what he did sans Justin Moore last time and the energy that Jay Wright is putting towards his way. I think he's going to actually be a pretty big factor in this game and get some more minutes. So even if he gets 3 to 5 more minutes, that's a better opportunity for him to, get a couple more shots in what could be a slow tempo game where they're going to need some close buckets. So he's an interior guy, gets good shots, efficient shots close to the rim. So I think he'll have a nice little day. Right. The other one, so that's one for Villanova. Yeah, well, it was for the Nova Kansas game. And the other one I like is I'm gonna go with Manic. You mentioned him earlier, but I think Brady Manic is a good spot at plus money to get over 2.5 threes. He only registered a total of 2 threes in the first 2 matchups versus Duke. But since the tournament has happened, this guy's just been launching them. 47% clip. He's shooting 8.5 attempts per game. He's hitting over 4 per game. So with Duke, they ranked up 56 this year in 3-pointers allowed. And with this game total being obviously the best of the 2 games, I think this is going to be a pretty high scored affair. Manek should be able to let off. So I think that there's some vulnerability on that wing for Duke, and Manek can definitely hit at least 3-pointers here.
Well, we're going to need Manek to go absolutely insane. Maybe not as insane as the Baylor game where he's elbowing everybody and getting kicked out of the game, but like just as hot as he was right before that happened. One of the things that is going to be really important in this game, Manek, in order to stay on the floor, is going to have to play. He's either going to have to be lights out offensively or do something defensively. He's terrible defensively, and he's going to be up against Banchero. So he better be draining threes, or else his ass is off the floor. So I kind of like it from that angle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be throwing a couple of different bodies at Banchero. There's not, I mean, he's top 5 player in the country right now, and easily, in consideration for the top draft pick. So yeah, it's going to be tough to stop him regardless of who's on him. But yeah, certainly Manek is not going to be the one that's going to be stopping him long term.
All right, why don't we close out the college segment with this, and we'll head over to NBA. If you have the number 1 pick in the draft right now, who are you taking?
Ooh, man, it depends on the team and the need. So right now, the worst teams in the NBA are the Detroit Pistons, the Thunder, and the Houston Rockets. So you play the lottery balls. If any of those 3 teams end up, let's just assume that's the Thunder. I think Chet is the pick. They don't have a front court player in OKC. So, I think he could actually pair really well with a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have a really young core. So I think that there's room to grow and build. And that's a franchise that's certainly willing to wait, because they've been waiting, selling off all of their assets for the last 5 years. If it's the Rockets, they don't need a big man. They'll probably trade Christian Wood, and they'll let Alperen Sengun be the center of the future there. So I would say it's a Banchero as a 4 there, like a hybrid 3-4, because he's very talented offensively. But I also, Jaden Ivey could definitely make his move. Keegan Murray, I thought he had a chance, but I didn't really like what I saw out of the Iowa game to push him that far up. But yeah, I would say Banchero is probably certainly in the running. Chet Holmgren's got to be in the running despite his size.
Who's the kid?
And there's probably going to be some international player that comes out of nowhere too.
Who's the kid from Auburn? Jalen Smith?
Yeah, he's been getting some hype too. Be honest, I didn't watch many Auburn games this year outside of them losing in the tournament. But I did see him getting some love as well. Odds aren't nearly Jabari Smith.
Yeah. Sorry.
Jalen Smith's on the Pacers.
Yeah. So Jabari Smith, I know at this point probably basically the top 4 picks in some order are going to be Chet, Banchero, Ivy, and Jabari Smith. From what I've seen, and this is only tournament based, I would take Banchero. Chet's really interesting, but you need to have a full scale plan to deal with him. And
right. Oklahoma City is the perfect place for him to land if he's gonna. Yeah. I think he's gonna have to get room to grow, get into that NBA body, whatever that's gonna mean for him. He kind of has a Durant build of super skinny, or Brandon Ingram, super skinny, probably won't put on that much weight, but him put on 20 pounds, you won't even notice it, but it's still there. But he's very skilled though. So he can handle the ball, great defensively, doesn't take any shit, plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's not soft. So I think that's one of the stigmas that Gonzaga players get, is that they're just soft and whack, but he's definitely for real.
The SGA Giddey Holmgren pairing is very interesting. It's definitely a weird team. Yeah, that would be a super weird, if they all developed into 80% of their potential, that team's a really interesting team in the playoffs where they're a matchup nightmare could be.
Size wise, yeah, and quickness, they all, I think that would be a really compelling.
All really good passers.
Mm-hmm.
The ball movement. But imagine if 3 would be crazy.
If I would love to see Detroit get Banchero, because Jeremy Grant is trying to get out of there. I think he would fit in perfectly with Cade Cunningham and that young roster. That would be sick.
Cade and Banchero, they almost overlap a little bit too much on what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think there will be a lot of, who's the guy.
Mhm.
That would be kind of interesting. But if they figured out a way to work together, that's a really scary 2-3 or 3-4, however you want to play them.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, let's move over to some NBA bets for Thursday. On board, your Philadelphia 76ers minus 9.5 at the Detroit Pistons totals 223.5. I don't basically have anything on any of these games, so I'm just going to let you go to town here. Tell me what I'm supposed to bet. Tell me where I make the money and player
I'll tell you
props.
what. I'll tell you what you don't do. Don't bet the Sixers 9.5 against the Detroit Pistons, because the Detroit Pistons have been the best team against the spread as underdogs since the All-Star break. They continually get disrespected on their lines, and they've just been flourishing. I'm not betting Detroit here just because I got to watch this Sixers game, and I can't bear to watch them get their ass beat by the Detroit Pistons right now. But if I was to bet it, if I didn't have this homer in me, I would probably bet Detroit 9.5, just given what they've been doing. They've been covering crazy.
So this line opened at 9.5, went to 10, now 9.5. 64% of the bets, 87% of the money is on the Pistons. So probably a little bit sharp towards Pistons here, and I get it. 9.5 at home's a lot. Where do you fall right now on the MVP race? Because we've seen a lot of movement in the market where Jokic is now a minus 150-ish favorite. Until a week ago, Embiid was the favorite. Seems like it's down to those two. Where do you kind of net out on that?
Got some tickets out there. I got Embiid at plus 1,600, so 16-1, which was really nice back in like January, maybe December. I got it a while ago. And then I also have a ticket that I bought for Jokic at plus 400 when Embiid started sailing off. So I'm definitely invested in them both. But at this point, I still think that there's value on Jokic. A straw poll came out by Tim Bontemps of ESPN that had most of the, I guess, the prospective media voters for the award had Jokic getting a majority of those votes. And we did see a swing in the market of Embiid not becoming the favorite in a couple of books, and still there being plus money available for Jokic. So if I'm betting right now, the way that the Sixers look, the fact that Glenn Rivers has already said that the starters are going to be rested at some point, down the stretch, I think there's momentum leaning away from Embiid and more action actually going towards Jokic, because Jokic isn't going to take a game off. Like, the Denver Nuggets are in this middle ground playoff race here, like 5-6 seed. They're not going to get into the play-in game, but the seeding still matters. Whereas the Sixers, I feel like the Eastern Conference is so wide open right now. I don't think anyone really cares, just as long as they're not in the first seed. So I'm not going to be surprised if the Sixers take off a couple games here, end up in like the second, third seed, try to avoid that Brooklyn matchup, or potentially even Toronto. Speaking of which, something that I just read yesterday, which was interesting. Apparently, GMs were polled about how many teams, which teams were fully vaccinated. The Bucks and
I saw this.
Yeah, it was like the Bucks and the Celtics, I think, are both fully vaccinated, came out, said that they were. The Sixers have said nothing. The Nets, we know, are not. Chicago Bulls have said nothing. So
they have to go to Toronto, right?
They have to go to Toronto. That's going to have huge implications on the Eastern Conference. So back to your original question, I would buy Jokic shares right now while it's still plus money. There's some books where it is. I would identify those if you can. I would not buy any tickets on Embiid because I think the value's lost. Giannis is an interesting case, but I think he's probably the dark horse out of the three.
Yeah, I don't think that Giannis has a chance, really. It's between those two. And I think that Jokic, probably up to minus 200 right now, it's probably a good bet based on everything that you've said. I also like that you snuck in the Glenn Rivers and not Doc Rivers. That was maybe my favorite thing of that whole.
There's only one Doc in Philly, and it is Dr. J. It will never be Doc Rivers. That guy sucks. We need a new head coach.
My Vegas friend, Dr. J. Lovely man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's your boy now.
My boy. All right. Next game on the board. This is probably the best game of the day. Bucks plus 1.5 at the Brooklyn Nets. Total 243.5. God, that is a high total. Brooklyn minus 130 on the money line. I don't know much about this game, but 243.5. Give me the under all day. That is way too high, seemingly.
Facts. So I actually bought in on. I got this right when the market dropped at 238. So I took the over on that. But I feel like 240, 241 is like the range where I'm like, I'm gonna stay away. So the fact that it's now, you said 243.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
243 and a half.
Yeah, I'd probably under on that one. That's a lot of points. Granted, the Bucks defense hasn't been as good as it's been in the past. Like they've been certainly letting up more points over the last couple of weeks than they're used to. I think they're still integrating Brook Lopez into this lineup. You know, he missed a ton of games over the course of the season, so it's kind of a slow road back. But this Nets offense is dynamic. We know that. So there's going to be a lot of points to be had here. So I think this is going to be a track meet. So, but 243 is still a high number. So I feel you on taking the under there. Do have a player prop for this game. I'm going to go Kevin Durant over 37.5 rebound points plus rebounds. Given that this is going to be a track meet, we have seen Kevin Durant's assists go up recently, but I think this is actually going to be more of a game where he's going to be utilized, stretching out to the wing, getting those rebounds. He's going to drop probably close to 28, 29 points, if not 30. His market's at 30.5, I think. He get that on the roll that he's on. And I think he's going to get up against this game. Definitely remembers the playoffs. He never forgets anything. I think he's going to want to go at, the dark horse MVP at Giannis. And Giannis has just been playing outside of his mind lately. I mean, just absolutely destroyed the Sixers in that third quarter or in the fourth quarter last game. So I think it's going to be a good game for Kevin Durant, Giannis. You might be able to buy the dip in Kyrie Irving, who hasn't played that well. I think his points prop is at 23.5. It was 24. I think that's a pretty safe number for him, but he is going to be guarded by Drew Holiday, who we know gives everybody problems. So spot, no one can guard him on the Milwaukee Bucks.
All right, next game on the board, two teams that I'm pretty sure played last night. Cleveland plus 5.5 at Atlanta, total 229.5. Given the fact that both teams played last night and the Cavs are without everybody, kind of like the first half under here. That's kind of my initial lean based on what I'm seeing. This number looks like it's going to end up at 6 for Atlanta. Also kind of interested in some Kevin Love over props. Didn't play that well last night, but I hit an over on his assists of 2.5. He ended up at 3. Just based on the fact that Mobley's out and Love didn't play that many minutes last night, and now you're coming into a back-to-back. I know he's older. Maybe the body isn't going to get ready for the back-to-back, but I feel like Kevin Love maybe over PRA might be a good angle here.
So I think you said it well. Because this is a back-to-back, we know Kevin Love's age. He wasn't ready to go for the full workload, but this is an important game for Cleveland and the Hawks. More so for Cleveland, man. They're going the wrong direction right now. And the last thing they need is to find themselves in a potential play-in opportunity here. So Cleveland needs this game. Being that they're both on a back-to-back, I got to feel like, man, this is probably my gross bet of the night. I'm going to take the Hawks. I took him at -4.5, but now that's at 5.5. I would still, that's probably my cutoff point. If it goes any higher than that, I'm not playing it. But I would go to the Hawks -5.5 only because the Cleveland Cavaliers have been a completely different team without Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Karis LeVert's been playing really well. He's finally getting back into the flow of things, but they can't really stop anybody right now. And I would say the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls are the teams that I'm most concerned about in the Eastern Conference right now. And the Atlanta Hawks have actually been playing pretty well. They're one of the top, I think they're top 12 in offensive efficiency this season. Their defense is suspect, but good thing you're not playing against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So that's 2 less people you got to really worry about in that interior. They'll get up the floor against this Cleveland team. So the under scares me a little bit. I actually feel like even though they might have some tired legs, Atlanta played against the Thunder last night. So that's not really even a ball game.
And they won by 50 or whatever.
Yeah, and Trey dropped 40 and he wasn't even trying. So I wouldn't be surprised if Trey is actually feeling really good and just comes out just firing away. Darius Garland's been scoring at a high clip. It's going to be a good game. So I'm going to take the Hawks, though, 5.5, which disgusts me. But I think it's the right bet, just considering how bad Cleveland's been on this last stretch of games.
All right, next game up. Clippers plus 2.5 at the Chicago Bulls. Total is 221.5. Playoff P coming back, dropping 34 in his first game. Looking good.
Pushing that P. Woo! came in scorching.
God, it was really good in that game, and a big comeback for them. Clippers open plus 3.5, now plus 2.5 at BetMGM. 43% of the bets and 86% of the money is on the Clippers. I guess it's Clippers or nothing in this situation, or are we going to fade the sharp action here?
I thought that the sharp action was actually going to maybe sway this the other way. Like, it only moved a point. And last night I saw it at 3.5. I grabbed it just because right now, as I was talking about with the Atlanta Hawks, I was talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, the concern about the Bulls, having Paul George back in the lineup, and he looks pretty damn healthy to me. Like, the way that he just went off in that third quarter, he looks like he's ready to go. And Robert Covington is also back. They have a lot of wings to guard against the Chicago Bulls. So DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are the primary offensive contributors for the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic is like there, but like, I don't know. He's not making the impact that he was earlier this season.
Whoa. He had 27 points the other night. I had the over 18.5. Don't disrespect my boy Vucevic.
He scores points, but he doesn't really play defense. But against this Clippers team that, like, they're one of the slowest paced teams, they play defense, and Ty Lue has them very disciplined. And with Paul George in this lineup, I think this is actually probably closer to a pick 'em. So the reason I grabbed 3.5, like, I feel like the books are underappreciating how much Paul George might matter to this lineup based on who they're going against. But I also could just be, I don't know, maybe this is the books right eye of, oh my God, Paul George is back. They defeated the Jazz after coming down from 25 points. Like, maybe it's that, but I actually think that the Clippers are going to be a better team. Like, we saw this team, essentially this version of it, insert Robert Covington in there. That was their playoff team last year when Kawhi went down, and they were solid. Like, they almost took down the Suns. So I think that they're a better team than the Bulls with Paul George in the lineup. So assuming that Paul George can get, like, close to 30 minutes again, I think that they could definitely cover this within 3 points. So right. I like it at 2.5. I would play this down. I would probably play it to +1, and then I wouldn't play it if it flips to the other side.
Got it. Okay. Might have to do something on the Clippers here. Last game on the board. I don't even want to talk about this game. Lakers plus 13.5 in Utah against the Jazz. Totals 227.5. End the season. I don't care. No one cares. This team isn't going anywhere. I made my case once for why there's a puncher's chance. I was wrong. I'll eat the L. The opposite of Jameis Winston, eat the W. That's fine. 53% of the bets and 87% of the money are on the Jazz. I did just see that Anthony Davis is going to come back and play against the on Friday, and I'm not sure when LeBron's going to be back. LeBron James is going to try and make a return to the lineup also for Friday's game against the Pelicans. So Lakers play tomorrow night against the Pelicans. I assume that they just flushed this game down the drain with no AD and Bron. 13.5 is a lot of points, but also the Lakers stink. So the only thing I'll say about the Lakers is with AD and LeBron out, Westbrook's actually been okay. That's about all the positives I have.
It's about all you can have, man. You're right. So I'm not going to be surprised if LeBron James plays tomorrow against the Pelicans, because that 100% has playoff implications. They're both in the playoff spot. They're both going for it. The Spurs are right on their ass, so they can't afford to lose many more games. The Spurs lost a tough one last night, pretty much at the buzzer. They're going to need AD, and they're going to need LeBron. So I think they're going to rest this one out. Obviously, they're both out. I don't know that I want to – I'm not laying points with the Jazz. After what I saw against the Clippers and what they've been doing all season, when they're double-digit favorites, it is not good. I heard the stat last night. It was somewhere like, I want to say 6, and it is not a comfortable – I know that it's definitely to the it's definitely a bad record streak against the spread as double-digit favorites. So can't trust Utah. Maybe I'll play a Donovan Mitchell player prop or Rudy Gobert rebounds. He's probably going to get a ton of them against this Lakers team that I don't even know where they're going to generate scoring from outside of Russell Westbrook and Malik Monk. This game spread-wise, stay away from me. Maybe if you like the Jazz, play them first quarter. Maybe they get up really quickly. But I think I was seeing their first quarter was sitting at like some like 6.5, 7.5. So that still seems like a lot to me. But they do start out hot and then they kind of fizzle out. So yeah, maybe the first quarter is the play if you're that interested in it.
All right. We got through the NBA. I have many player props to go place after this podcast is over. Now we get on to the NFL draft. This is what I came here for. This is one of my specialties. I love playing the NFL draft. It is one of my happiest days of the year, that Thursday, round one. I actually got asked this question last weekend. What are my favorite sports days of the year? Round one NFL draft. I was the only one who said that was one of them, and it was literally one of my top 4 answers. Like, I love the NFL draft. I'm a fucking crazy person. So the bets that I've made thus far, very clearly, I only have 3. Kyle Hamilton over 6.5 plus 110. That number is gone out of the market. It is at 8.5. There's a good chance he drops out of the top 10. I personally believe that he will. I think he's going to end up going 11th to Washington. He ran really slow at the Notre Dame day, and ran 4.71, 4.72, something like that. So that's just not going to work. I understand that his game tape is different, but 4.71, you're just having a tough time getting that through scouting departments at this point. Under 3.5 quarterbacks in round one. This is pretty easy. I don't know where a 4th quarterback is coming into the first round of this draft. Pickett probably makes in the first. Willis is definitely going to be in the first.
Yeah.
Ritter, maybe. But like Howell, Corral, Carson Strong, none of those guys are making it into the first round here. And it's even like it's debatable if Pickett's going to be at this point. I don't think there's a lot of hype on him. He's kind of dropping down draft boards. So the only one that I'm super confident going in round one is going to be Willis. And then the last one, Aiden Hutchinson to be the first pick in the draft. I bet this at minus 265. It's minus 300 in the market right now. It was at 400 or 450. There's been a lot of juice on Trayvon Walker, the defensive lineman from Georgia. He obviously had a great combine, great pro day. He looks awesome. The game tape kind of matches it. But Hutchinson just makes so much sense at 1. And I actually think there's a chance that the Lions trade with the Jaguars to get the number 1 pick and pick Hutchinson, keep him in Michigan. So those are my bets on the board right now. I would say the risers that we got to watch out for. There's rumors that Sauce Gardner, the cornerback from Cincinnati, is going to go, at number 4. His line is currently sitting at 7.5. So probably need a little bit more information to bet that, but we're getting close on that one. The Jets are definitely. Yeah.
Do you see that? I've seen him draw comparisons to Darrell Revis. Do you believe in that hype?
He's longer. I almost think he's more Richard Sherman. Okay. These are Hall of Fame type players.
Yeah.
His measurables, kind of that. He's really, really tall and long. He's way faster than Sherman ran. Obviously, Sherman was like a 5th round pick out of Stanford. So a little bit different in that respect. Not as technical as Sherman was, but in terms of length and size, 6'3", really, really long arms. That's kind of the style of cornerback that you're looking at. I think he'll be really good. Personally, if you're asking me, I would still bet on Derek Stingley. You can't have a freshman year like that. His sophomore year, his COVID year, kind of throw that out for everybody. This year, he dealt with the Liz Frank injury, so you got to see how he bounces back from that. But the skill that he had, he was basically the number 1 quarterback in the entire country as a 17-year-old freshman at LSU on a national championship team, where every time in practice he's going up against Joe Burrow, Terrace Marshall, Jamar Chase, and he was beating. How do you get all of that guy? Sauce Gardner, great. No one threw at you at Cincinnati. You're playing against Cincinnati's opponents, which stink. And then you played one game against Alabama, and they knew not to throw to you. They torched the other guy, and they won by fucking 25 points. So as much as I like him, and I like his length and speed and whatever, you're not playing the same competition. So I would still bet on Derek Stingley. And if he's going to drop, I love the Vikings taking him at 12. He might drop past that. His line's at 12.5 right now. But put Stingley under Patrick Peterson's watch. Could be really good. Could be really, really good.
I was going to say that would be a nice fit with Patrick Peterson just re-signing there or just signing there.
All right. So number 1 pick, Aiden Hutchinson for sure. Minus 300 right now. The juice is on Trayvon Walker. So just beware. But I think that a number up to 500 is probably safe. Second player to be drafted, assuming that the Lions keep the pick. I don't think they're going to go with Malik Willis. I think they will end up with Trayvon Walker. That's around plus 250 right now. And then the third player, What do you think that Houston's going to do? They could go anywhere on the board right now. The odds suggest that they're going to go for offensive linemen. Ike Ekwonu is plus 175. Evan Neal plus 300. Trayvon Walker somewhere in here too. They could also go Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, they could go in any direction. What do you think they're going to do in the first round?
So Lovie Smith's the coach. So part of me thinks that they would go edge rusher. I think it makes a lot of sense, but you're right. They very much so could address the offensive line to Mills or whoever they're going to playing quarterback back there this season. I'm going to lean though because Lovey's a defensive-minded coach. I'm going to think that they're going to go edge rusher because without an edge rusher, you can't put pressure on the offense. You kind of got to start with your defense a little bit too. So, I mean, and we saw their offense was competent at times last year. So I think that their defense is probably more of the issue that they want to address. So
if you like that angle, Kayvon Thibodeau plus 800 and Trayvon Walker plus 500 to be the third player drafted. Trayvon Walker might not be there. Kayvon Thibodeau almost absolutely will be there, available at number 3. I kind of like betting both those if you want to fade the offensive lineman move. And then if you're going to fade the offensive lineman move at 3, then there's a tumble effect because then you can take, New York Giants at 5, almost certainly going to take whatever offensive lineman is there.
Lineman's left. Yep.
The Jets, if Neal and Ekwonu are both on the board, may be tempted to go offensive lineman, even though they've drafted Elijah Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton in the last 2 years. I could see that happening. I know that the Jets are going to take a wide receiver at 10 if they don't trade that pick. That is the lock of all locks. So if you find that out there, beware. Also, I'll say there are some rumors going around that Jamison Williams is the number 1 wide receiver on a lot of teams' draft boards. So if you see him where his total is at 22.5, 21.5, something like that, basically the pick is the Patriots. I think he's going to go a little higher than people think. So maybe somewhere in the teens. That may be a good bet if you see that on the board. I haven't personally seen it, but I kind of like that. Another one that I'm looking at right now is first quarterback to be taken, Malik Willis minus 200. I think that's a lock. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen at this point.
To what destination do you think? Like, who's going to be the first team to pull the trigger there? Where's the first opportunity for it?
Well, the first opportunity is the Lions.
Yeah, I would say, but they're probably not going to go there immediately, right?
Yeah,
not that high.
And 6 is Carolina. So Carolina's probably going to end up. They have to keep Sam Darnold because of the way that his contract works, and it's fully guaranteed, and he's not. They're not going to release him. Whatever. Baker Mayfield's not going to go to Carolina. Jimmy G to Carolina makes a lot of sense. The question is, Carolina doesn't have any second or third or fourth round picks. I don't know how that's possible, but that's where we are right now. So that's kind of what makes it hard to put together a San Francisco Carolina trade unless you're doing players and future picks. Mm-hmm. So I think 6 makes some sense. I don't know that they like Willis. I think that they'll go offensive line there. So then you get to 9, which is Seattle. If Seattle doesn't trade for Baker, it makes a lot of sense for them to go Willis.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. But then you get to like 18 is where the next guy is. So that 18's New Orleans. You have 20, which is Pittsburgh. Those 2 teams are probably going to be looking in the quarterback market, but there's not a whole lot, to be honest with you. And I think the teams would really just want to wait for next year's draft where they're going to have a chance at, some much better options than they have this year.
Yeah, I think that makes the justification for your not more than 3 QBs in the first round.
3.5, yeah.
3.5. Yeah, I think that's a great bet, taking the under on that one. So I was just looking at this. What are your thoughts on top 5? I think that's one of the areas I'm going to be targeting. Kayvon Thibodeau plus 135 to go into top 5. How do you feel about that?
I think there's a chance he goes at 3, 4, or 5. I'm definitely sure he's not going to go 1.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that he's not going to go 2 because his brash style, that's not going to work with Dan Campbell. It's totally not going to work. 3, maybe, like we just said, if it ends up being Hutchinson 1, Trayvon Walker 2, Thibodeau 3, if they want to go defense, makes a lot of sense. I think that they're still going to go offensive line. 4 with the Jets. 4 with the Jets is really interesting. I feel like Thibodeau and Saleh, Saleh likes those assholes. And Thibodeau's definitely kind of fits that mold. That could be good. The Giants, I think, are more inclined to take a defensive player at 7 instead of 5. I think at 5, they're pretty sure that they're going to take an offensive lineman, whatever the best ones there of Cross, Neal, and Ekwonu. So you're looking at 3 or 4. I think it's tight. I would probably bet the over, but I don't feel great about either side there.
Okay.
What other top 5s you got?
The other one I was looking at was actually Evan Neal, but he's minus 20. He's at minus 275, so he's pretty much a short bet. So now that I'm trying to think about that is like, as you're evaluating the top 5, it's almost like there's only edge rushers and linemen that are really going to be in the top 5. And so when you were talking about the cornerback to go possibly as high as 6.
Yeah, Sauce. I think Sauce could go 4 for sure to the Jets, but that's it. I don't think he'll go 5. He has a chance to go 4, 6, 7, 8, I think are his options.
Okay, so being that you said that, I might even take that as top 10 for Sauce, which I'm seeing is, where is Sauce? They don't even have him in that, at least not on DraftKings. Okay, they got him at plus 130 for top 5, and they definitely got him going top 10. So there's no value there. I was really just curious about Kayvon Thibodeau. That was the one that was kind of staring out to me. Kyle Hamilton, you mentioned him at the top. I did see him mock to the Jets at one point, but as you said, it seems like that pro day might have hurt his stock a little bit there. But he's at 2-1 essentially to go in top 5, so not great value there.
I would bet against that if you can. I don't think that there's any chance that he goes top 5 anymore. I don't think that. Like if you had to give me the over under, so I bet it at 6.5. If you give me the over under 10.5, I would still take the over. I think he's going to fall to 11. I'm fairly confident about that at this point. Although, we got a month left, so there's a lot. But the 3 bets that I'm definitely on is the Hamilton over, under quarterback, and Hutchinson first overall. Hutchinson for first overall. I know that I'm going to have thousands of dollars in that market by the time we're done here, just because I'm so confident about it. And then Jacksonville and Trent Baalke are going to screw me on Trayvon Walker. So yeah, I'm not excited about that. But otherwise, I'm super interested in the market. I'll tweet out whatever bets that I make. It's also on the sheet that's attached to my Twitter handle. You can look at all the Excel doc for my mock draft and what picks or what bets I've made thus far. Also, forgot to mention at the top, there's a 7-6 Final Four going on right now. So go join that. It'll be a lot of fun for the Final Four. That does it, Dan. I think we're done. We've put in thousands of dollars worth of bets, and
yeah.
hopefully we get UNC against whoever on the other side. I don't care as long as Villanova covers.
As long as the first half is an under, I'm cool too.
All right, that does it. We'll be back sometime next week to break down more bets. Until then, Dan, good luck, and go North Carolina. Go Tar Heels.
Go Tar Heels. Let's do it.
See ya.
Peace.